So today we're having a bit of a late recording. It is 15 minutes or quarter quite before 9 p.m. But I still want to do something. I still have a feeling of just putting out something more and doing something else as well. Today is Thursday, tomorrow's going to be Friday. And essentially as well, tomorrow is going to be my rest day. So there's not going to be, quite any working out. Maybe I'm just not going to care about that. Maybe I'm just going to do something anyways. But I'm going to see. But I do have a feeling of, earning my weekend. And, I just want to do something. I just want to do something smart. I've already done quite a lot of things today. And I hope that I've not forgotten about anything. But anyway, 20 major philosophers and their big ideas. This is the title of the article that I'm willing to go through. And as always, the link is going to be down in the description. So if you are unable to listen to this episode or watch this episode, but more or less listen to it, then please at least check out the article, because it is just going to be worth it. There's always going to be something you can learn from it, and you're probably going to go through it in 10 minutes or so. If you skip certain parts and if you, go through those things that make the most sense for you and are the most important for you, you can gain something out of it and you can get something out of it. And so why wouldn't you? So yeah, Sir Thomas Aquinas, 1225 to 1274, and there's always a bit of an introduction to who he was and whatnot, but I'm gonna go straight through those big ideas, for time reasons. He adhered to the Platonic/Aristotelian principle of realism, which holds that certain absolutes exist in the universe, including the existence of the universe itself. Focused much of his work on reconciling Aristotelian and Christian principles, but also expressed a doctrinal openness to Jewish and Roman philosophers, all to the end of divining truth wherever it could be found. And the Second Vatican Council, 1962 to 65, declared his Summa Theologiae, a compendium of all the teachings of the Catholic Church to that point, perennial philosophy. Well, I do want to point out something that I've realized very recently, might have actually been yesterday or the day before, is that the Bible, or Christian philosophy, if you want to call it that way, I actually don't know whether this is the right words to use, the right words to say what I mean. But that there's way more in the Bible than one might think. I mean, if you kind of deconstruct it, if you kind of, if you're really trying to see what they're saying, what they're exactly saying, then there's quite some interesting things that they talk about, some things that might also be useful for us at this point in time, because some things never change quite, or things just repeat themselves relatively often as well. His key works are Summa Theologica, so they might have misspelled that. Well, anyway, and Thomas Aquinas' Selected Writings. Then Aristotle, which is going to be the next one, asserted the use of logic as a method of argument and offered the basic methodological template for analytical discourse. Espoused the understanding that knowledge is built from the study of things that happen in the world, and that some knowledge is universal, a prevailing set of ideas throughout Western civilization thereafter. Defined metaphysics as the knowledge of immaterial being, and used this framework to examine the relationship between substance, a combination of matter and form, and essence, from which he devises that man is comprised from a unity of the two. Have I actually skipped something? No, I haven't. His key works are The Metaphysics, Nicomachean Ethics and Poetics. Next one is going to be Confucius. The big ideas are: he developed a belief system focused on both personal and governmental morality through qualities such as justice, sincerity, and positive relationships with others. He advocated for the importance of strong family bonds, including respect for the elder, veneration of one's ancestors, and marital loyalty. He also believed in the value of achieving ethical harmony through skilled judgment rather than knowledge of rules, denoting that one should achieve morality through self-cultivation. His key works are The Analects and The Complete Confucius. Then we have René Descartes. He's French from 1596 to 1650. And his big ideas are: Descartes' believe in all things that are not absolutely certain, emphasizing the understanding of that which can be known for sure. Is recognized as the father of analytical geometry. And the last, regarded as one of the leading influences in the scientific revolution, a period of intense discovery, revelation, and innovation that rippled through Europe between the Renaissance and Enlightenment eras, roughly speaking the 15th to 18th century. His key works are Meditations on First Philosophy from 1641, Principles of Philosophy 1644, and The Passions of the Soul and Other Late Philosophical Writings from 1649. Then we're having Ralph Waldo Emerson, whom I've encountered actually quite often up to this point. Well, let's see. His big ideas. Wrote on the importance of subjects such as self-reliance, experiential living, and the preeminence of the soul. The second referred to the infinitude of the private man as his central doctrine. And the third was a mentor and friend to fellow influential transcendentalist Henri David Thoreau. Mentor and fellow influential transcendentalist. Henri David Thoreau, who's been an amazing artist with really interesting works, and yeah, I've actually had to know that for my A-levels. Anyway, Emerson's key works: Nature and Other Essays from 1836, Essays First and Second Series, 1841 and 1844. Then we have Michael Foucault. He's also French, so I don't know how to pronounce it anyway. 1926 to 1984, held the conviction that the study of philosophy must begin through a close and ongoing study of history, demanded that social constructs be more closely examined for hierarchical inequalities, as well as through an analysis of the corresponding fields of knowledge supporting these unequal structures. Believed oppressed humans are entitled to rights, and they have a duty to rise up against the abuse of power to protect these rights. The key works are The Order of Things and Archaeology of the Human Sciences from 1966, The Archaeology of Knowledge and the Discourse on Language, 1969, and the last one, Discipline and Punish: The Birth of the Prison, from 1975. Then we're having David Hume, who lived from 1711 to 77. His big ideas are: the first, articulated the problem of induction, suggesting we cannot rationally justify our belief in causality, that our perception only allows us to experience events that are typically conjoined, and that causality cannot be empirically asserted as the connection force or connecting force in that relationship. Assessed that human beings lack the capacity to achieve a true conception of the self, that our conception is merely a bundle of sensations that we connect to formulate the idea of the self. And the last one is, Hume argued against moral absolutes, instead positioning that our ethical behavior and treatment of others is compelled by emotion, sentiment, and internal passion, that we are inclined to positive behaviors by their likely desirable outcomes. Then in terms of work, we're having a Treatise of Human Nature from 1738, an inquiry concerning the principles of morals from 1751, and the history of England 1745 to 62. Then we're having Immanuel Kant. His big ideas are: defines the categorical imperative, the idea that there are intrinsically good and moral ideas to which we all have duty or a duty, and that rational individuals will inherently find reason in adhering to moral obligation. And he also argued that humanity can achieve perpetual peace through universal democracy and international cooperation. The last one being, he asserted that the concepts of time and space, as well as cause and effect, are essential to the human experience, and that our understanding of the world is conveyed only by our senses and not necessarily by the underlying and likely unseen causes of the phenomena we observe. His works are Critique of Pure Reason, 1781, Critique of Judgment, 1790, and The Metaphysics of Morals from 1797. Then we're having Søren Kierkegaard. He's only having two big ideas. The first one being, explored the idea of objective versus subjective truths and argued that theological assertions were inherently subjective and arbitrary because they could not be verified or validated by science. The next one and last one being, was highly critical of the entanglement between state and church. First described the concept of angst, defining it as a dread that comes from anxieties over choice, freedom, and ambiguous feelings. I don't actually know. His works are The Concept of Dread from 1844, Concluding Unscientific Proscripts to Philosophical Fragments, Volume 1 from 1846, and Practicing Christianity from 1850. Then we're having Lao Tzu, or also Lao Tzu, who lived between the 6th and 4th century BC. The three ideas are: espoused awareness of the self through meditation, disputed conventional wisdom as inherently biased, and argued followers of the Tao to find natural balance between the body, senses, and desires. And the last one being, urged individuals to achieve a state of Wu Wai, or Wu Wai, freedom from desire, an early staple tenet of Buddhist tradition thereafter. And the key works are Tao Te Ching. How long am I actually recording, by the way? I don't actually think that long. 30 minutes. Well, John Locke from 1632 to 1704 coined the term tabula rasa, blank slate, to denote that the human mind is born unformed and that ideas and rules are only enforced through experience thereafter. He established a method of introspection, focusing on one's own emotions and behaviors in search of a better understanding of the self. The last one argued that in order to be true, something must be capable of repeated testing, a view that girded his ideology with the intent of scientific rigor. His key works are two treatises of government from 1689, an essay concerning human understanding from 1690, and some thoughts on concerning education, 1693. Then we're having Niccolo Machiavelli, 1469 to 1527. Famously asserted that while it would be best to be both loved and feared, the two rarely coincide, and thus greater security is found in the later. Really? If you're feared? I don't know. Identified as a humanist and believed in necessary to establish a new kind of state in defiance of law, tradition, and particularly the political preeminence, I think, of the church, viewed ambition, competition, and war as inevitable parts of human nature, even seeking to embrace all of these tendencies. There we're having discourses on Livy or Levi from 1531, The Prince from 1532, and The Art of War from 1590 to 20. I didn't know that The Art of War is by him or was written by him. Then we're having Karl Marx, who is going to be the last one for today, advocated a view called historical materialism, arguing for the demystification of thought and idealism in favor of close acknowledgement of the physical and material actions shaping the world. He argued that societies develop through class struggle and that this would ultimately lead to the dismantling of capitalism. The third being characterized capitalism as a production system in which there are inherent conflicts of interest between the bourgeoisie, which is the ruling class, and the proletariat, or actually proletariat, which is the working class, and that these conflicts are couched in the idea that the latter must sell their labor to the form of wages that offer no stake in production. So it is kind of a cycle, a cycle that's only leading to bad things. Well, his key works are Critique of Hegel's Philosophy of Right from 1843, then the Communist Manifesto from 1848, and the Capital Volume 1, A Critique of Political Economy from 1867. I do hope that you've gained something out of this. I hope that you've learned something. I hope that you've been able to, get some insights into the world of philosophy. And yeah, hope you're going to see you next time. Bye-bye. See you soon.